Hi, my name is Kenny Lewandowski, and I will be talking about the damage youth sports can cause. Youth sports are a large phenomenon in the United States, with parents and supporters alike cheering on their children. Having been through the whole youth sports system and having recently entered it again through coaching, I really enjoy youth sports, but oftentimes, the previously simple game becomes complicated and unenjoyable. With an increased injury rate among youngst adults, the safety of youth sports is put into question, and as a result, we see a significant drop off rate of youth sports participants. Youth sports also takes a toll on young athletes' mental health, with children being pressured into sports at younger ages every year. And so begins the pressures to perform and be on the best team. By providing personal experience as a player and coach, as well as some statistics, I will show how youth sports have come to be destructive to youth athletes' physical and mental health. Youth sports, attracting parents with promise of increased memory, management of emotions, regulation of anxiety, and improved physical condition for their children, have recently brought more issues to young athletes than benefits. From a physical standpoint, more and more children each year are being injured. In fact, out of the 30 million children and teens participating in organized sports, more than 3.5 million injuries occur each year. On the screen, you can see some statistics about sports related injuries across different youth sports from Stanford Children's Health. Out of all these statistics, I want to point attention to the football section that says almost 215,000 children aged 5 to 14 were treated in hospital emergency rooms for football related injuries. This number is significantly larger than the other sports and raises questions about the safety of children playing football and sports in general at such a young age. These injuries occurring during youth sport participation has been connected to a lot of injuries relating to overuse. The single biggest factor contributing to the dramatic increase in overuse injuries in young athletes is the focus on more intense, repetitive, and specialized training at much younger ages. This increased pressure and exertion in practices has directly led to a dramatic drop off rate in youth participation of sports. Having discussed the physical damage youth sports has caused, let's explore the mental harm youth sports has had on young athletes as of late. Youth sports, originally played during free time, has recently shifted to competition based play. A sense of competition is important in sports because without it, there isn't the same level of excitement or enjoyment of watching sports. As an ex high school soccer player, I crave competition, and with competition came a sense of pride of representing your team and beating your rivals. But there is a point where competition can be harmful, especially when it is introduced at a young age before players can develop a passion for a sport. The increased sense of competition at such a young age creates a level of stress to perform at a high level. As a coach, I have seen firsthand the effects stress has on players, with consequences such as lack of progression of an individual's technical ability, players quitting sports, and in a more extreme case, an athlete taking his life. Oftentimes, mental health is not considered in sports, and as a result, athletes do not receive the benefits youth sports sought to provide and instead are harmed in the process. Now that we have talked about the physical and mental problems that youth sports have introduced, let's look more into some of the details of the larger problem at hand and offer courses of action for the future of youth sports. Parents are put under stress to have their child on the best team, with parents having to treat their children like objects, marketing them to different teams and having them traded amongst clubs. Due to this, we see a significant drop-off of athletes, with 70% of athletes under the age of 13 dropping out of sports because it quote-unquote wasn't fun anymore. Within the recent history, fee-based sports have been prominent, and the cost to play sports have increased dramatically. This high price tag to play organized and competitive youth sports has barred talented young players from playing, even though some of them are far more talented than the ones who can afford the high price tag. I have personally seen this as an issue, and as a result, my family and I created a nonprofit aimed at closing the monetary and opportunity gap for young adults in soccer by collecting and donating gear to those who would benefit most from it, as pictured on the screen. In order for the future of youth sports to shift in a better direction, I suggest that we start by restructuring how coaching is conducted. There are some severe inconsistencies between what coaches think is right and what is actually harmful for the players. Having mandatory instruction sessions or licensure can help educate coaches and parents alike about the recent findings about both the physical and mental damage youth sports can cause. Once this is done, we can begin to restructure the organization of youth sports by pushing back ages where competitive teams are selected. This will allow children to foster positive relationships with sports, which will make them want to play longer. Additionally, pushing back the age will allow players to fully go through their developmental phase instead of selecting a team prematurely. This is a good starting point for restructuring youth sports, and after we do this, we can begin to see what youth sports was intended to provide once again. Overall, youth sports were originally created with benefits to children, but the most important one that has recently been lost is the benefit of having fun. I think as a society, we need to have a reset on how we treat youth sports and young athletes. In general, we need to shift our current focus on fee-based, competition-based play to a more communal one where money doesn't act as a barrier to players. I am in a position where I am able to advocate my opinions and implement my own coaching style that reflects what I deem best for players. Having been through the whole system of organized sports in the form of middle school, high school, club, and even college soccer, I can say and show what I think is best for youth sports. Even though it is on a relatively small scale, I believe I am making a difference in the lives of student athletes in my program who will have a positive relationship with sports for the duration of their lives. Bringing attention to the harm youth sports has recently been seen to cause, we can make a change before more young athletes are affected negatively and lose an interest for sports forever.